Let's give everybody a minute to come back. Thank you, Nikki. I guess we need to problem solve that one.
Do you guys have a free Zoom account?
I know Zoom. The King one. There's one that made for King.
Yeah, there is. And I don't know if the Zoom rooms is the fun part of the learning experience. So we'll figure it out eventually.
I know, I'm trying to concentrate on Val and what she's doing. I've already have like these ideas in my head, and when can I go to an alpaca farm? And who
I'm so sorry.
Oh, that will be so fun. Oh, don't be sorry. We're doing okay. Let's see how many people we have now. Oh, we have quite a few people now.
I'm thinking that everybody should have to show their picture, their faces.
No, no kidding.
Well, I often think that, you know, when I'm working from the island here, and I don't know if you noticed this, but the same picture that I have in the same video in my professional shot is this blue sweater. It's because it's the only good thing I brought up here. I just didn't think I was going to be doing this. I'll be wearing this tomorrow too.
Great. So I think you could go ahead and keep going. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. I think most everybody's back. I see about 20 people, 24, 25, I think we had. So I think we're almost at that. Thanks. Hi, Saeed. Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Okay. All right, can you guys see that? Okay, so, how about that? Is that okay? Not really. Make it bigger or smaller? Bigger? Yeah, that's kind of gonna be hard.
It looks good to me.
Okay, see where it says industry and then contact. Okay, you might have to pan in on it pretty, this is what I got. Okay, so basically what I want everybody to do is make and I'll send this to you so you guys have this available for you guys for all the time, because I think that your social capital is always changing and you should revisit this like every, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. I think it's a good thing to give new folks who are just starting out trying to figure out, you know, how they're going to reach out to people. So just take a few minutes to start with administrative, clerical. So for me, I would write down Shannon, my friend, because she works at, you know, a college. Or I would write my friend Claire because she is the office assistant at a dental office. So go ahead and go through all those things. We'll take like a couple minutes for you guys to just write them down on a piece of paper, because we're going to utilize this. And just also to let you know is that social capital can be a little widespread too. I mean, if you have a banker, you would write your banker down. If you have a dentist, you would write your dentist's name down. I see you guys are hard at work. I'm also sure that there's not a lot of enough room for the one that says counseling, psychology, and social work. All right, so I'm going to switch over to the next one. Uh-oh. I'm going to go up a little bit. All right, that's all we have time for now. Casey, I'll make sure and send this to you. I'll copy Nikki on it as well. And then you guys can just have that. Okay.
That is great. I already came up with a list of a few names. I want to take some time and go through the whole thing.
That's great. That's awesome. Okay, now I want everybody to pick one person off that list. You know, nobody's gonna have to role play in here today, just letting you know that. Oh, but I want you to pick one person off that list. You might want to focus on some folks that might be shut right down right now. If you like, for example, your bartender at your pub, you know, you can't go there yet. Oh, another tip that I wanted to give you not to forget is that right now, as an employment consultant, you should be writing a list of all the essential businesses that are open right now in your area. Like, what are all the essential businesses? Like, get a list of all of those and know who they are, because right now, those are the folks that you could also be, you know, trying to reach in some sort of a way, or think about how you're going to target them later, because they're still up and running, you know. Okay, we're going to work with one person off your list. Okay, how can you connect with folks? All of these ways: email, phone call, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, or in person. The last time that I did this training, somebody said, well, what if you're an introvert and you don't have any social capital? How do you build that? And so I'd say the way to build it is create a LinkedIn page and start linking into people. people that you went to school with, people that you know of different areas, people that are of industries that you're interested in. It doesn't matter. You don't necessarily always have to know. I don't know half of the people I'm linked into, honestly. So you could build your social capital that way if you can. Okay, so all of those ways to do it. How do we open the conversation with somebody? Because now you pick somebody off your list, and so we're again going to work kind of on how you can approach them. And you already know the person, so this greeting is not going to be that difficult to do. Basically it's just like, hey, I'm calling on a few of my most trusted friends that are related, or our most trusted like friends or relationships. And so you could just kind of start it like that. And then building rapport would just be, ask questions, maybe like, how are you holding up? Or what's the biggest thing that your business is facing at this time? Or what do you think your biggest, what do you think that your business is going to face when it comes back up or whatever? So just kind of building rapport or whatever. And then creating interest, because you guys are all going to write an opening for this. Just want to let you know. So I'm creating interest. So why are you connecting with them? Well, either way, it's like, well, as you know, may or may not know, essentially my job is to get to know about different types of industries so that I can assist in folks in getting jobs. And considering you're the expert in this A, B, C field, I wanted to make a point to connect with you so that you can assist me in helping me learn about this particular industry. Okay. So, and then scheduling a time, which is saying I'd love to schedule a Zoom meeting or on the phone call so that I could ask you some questions and learn more about what you do. So it's essentially what you would do when you're approaching businesses, but now we're just going to kind of write that down like you're doing it in an email or a text message or something like that. And then just make sure to put a time limit on it to say, I just want to take about 20 minutes or whatever to pick your brain. Always put a time limit on it because I think that's good. And then trust me, everybody knows when you start asking people questions about themselves, you can't get them to shut up. Okay, so here you go. I want you to create your own opening. We're going to take a few minutes. I don't want you to overthink it, but this was an example that I wrote. Hey, Paula, I hope you're holding up and are safe during this unusual time. This has been such an adjustment the last few weeks. I'm calling on a few of my trusted relationships who I know would be available to help me out. As you may or may not know, I work for a nonprofit organization, and one of the cool things about my job is that I get to learn about different industries. I know you work for Dr. Boyce, so I was hoping that we could connect via phone, Zoom for around 20 minutes to ask some questions and learn more about the dentistry business. Is there a time in the next 3 days that we could chat? Okay. So if you guys want to write that down word for word, that's fine. But maybe I want you to customize it to the person that you're approaching. And so I want you to take a few minutes to do that. And then you'll have something down, and then you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, because I want you to do this with several people. So you don't have to get the whole thing right now, but just kind of an idea. I can also send you guys a copy of this PowerPoint in a PDF form. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. You guys can work on this later. And I want you to work on this for several different people for sure, for if you're thinking of your job seekers right now. All right, moving on. Pre-call planning. Everybody knows what that is, right? So I'm not going to go through it, but I do want to tell you that when you're meeting with folks, it might be fun to do it on Zoom, because I'll tell you that I've been doing a lot of webinars, but not every single day. And this is like the first day I think I combed my hair, and I actually took a shower and put on a little makeup, and I'm feeling frisky. So you might want to think about, you know, dressing up, feeling like you're going to work might be a good idea. All right, so here's what I'm going to show you. You need to do a little pre-call planning on this business of your social capital prior to your informational interview, as you guys all know. And you're going to formulate your questions based on your pre-call planning. So a lot of people are really good at this and do this all the time. For those of you that don't do it that often or are wondering how you put together pre-call planning with questions, I'm going to give you a little example. So for this exercise, I just did this randomly because I thought, okay, I'm asking people to do this. And so I'm going to randomly pick a business and I'm going to see how it goes. So I did this Honda of Burlington. And I wanted to show you kind of how I came up with this. So what I found out, and then the questions that I would ask the person based on that. So the first thing I did when I got on there, okay, so I know a guy that works at Burlington of Honda. His name is Andrew. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to call him up. I'm going to gain some information about his business, but I'm going to pre-call plan first. So the first thing that popped up was the hours. The hours are 9 to 6. So in my mind, I'm saying, I'm going to ask him, so Andrew, I know your hours are from 9 to 6. What are your busiest times during that time? I also saw that they're under new ownership. So maybe I'd want to ask him, hey, I saw on your website that you guys are under new ownership. Wow, how has the dealerships changed since the new owners have came in? Another one was I saw that customer service was their top priority. So I would ask something like, well, I hear that it's your top priority, but what kind of improvements would you make on your customer service? You have to have a clean driving record. I saw that on there. And then, so I want to know, I'm anticipating objections, which is no, everybody needs to have a driver's license. So I want to know, does everybody have to have a driver's license? Are there jobs that don't require you to have a driver's license, for example? I see that they're continually updating their inventory. So I want to know tell me all about the process of when you receive cars and what happens from the very beginning that comes off the truck all the way to going onto the lot. Tell me all about that. I want to know, it says, a strong supportive culture. I want to know more about that. Have to have a dealership experience. Are there any jobs that you don't have to have dealership experiences for? And then also they said diversity was important to them. And then I'd want to know, do you know about supported employment? Okay, so that's an example of how, and I did this in about 20 minutes. And I think when you first start doing it, might take you longer, but there's 8 questions right there that I could start a conversation with. And then from there, of course, you're going to ask more and more questions on top of that. So an idea about how you can use pre-call planning to develop your questions for your informational interview with your social capital.
Val, I like that the last thing was about supported employment. Like you asked all those questions before you even asked that, before you even brought up. So like you said, selling isn't telling.
Yeah, in fact, one of my mentors, Deb McLean, who most of you probably know, she would say if you're telling a story, you would mention disability in the 3rd paragraph. So that's good. Okay, create your questions. I'm not going to have you guys create your questions. We don't have a lot of time. So, but I want you to take the same person that you're in your social capital, do a little pre-call planning, and then create your questions. And a couple question techniques that might be review from some people, but I just want to mention it, is that you need to utilize your current employers to build trust and credibility. So if you were talking with, if one of your best friends was the manager at McDonald's, you might say, you know, we work with a lot of other fast food restaurants in this area and they experience a lot of high turnover. Would you say that's the same for your McDonald's? So now you're saying, I work with a lot of other businesses in this area, which is a really good tool because it helps build credibility. You wouldn't just say, hey, how's your turnover rate? You know, lead the questions, of course. Like I said, you might get 2 of your questions answered and you might ask 15 more that you didn't even know you were going to ask. Like I said, utilize your pre-call planning to say, hey, when I was doing some research, I learned this and I want to know more as a result of that. You guys all know this, questions that lead to job restructuring. You have this on your drive somewhere. I know that you guys have this. So just find that somewhere to help you with your questions as well. Okay, I want to do this. I want you at the cup, we're going to take just like 2 minutes. I want you to think of 2 questions off the top of your head that you would ask your the person that you're going to do your informational interview with. So just take like 2 minutes to think of a couple questions off the top of your head. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, don't forget to take notes. This is good practice for you to take notes, and it's a good opportunity for you to reiterate what the needs were. So like I heard you tell me that it takes a long time to get a car from off of the truck and get it onto the lot. Tell me, is there any ways that you feel like there could be more efficiency during that period of time, for example? So you're reiterating and then gaining more information for taking notes. So it's a really good practice. Okay, so your homework, you always have to have some homework. I want you to repeat this process for 2 more people. Actually, I want you to repeat it for as many people as you can. This is a perfect opportunity for you to be able to practice it. And it's real. It's actually real stuff you're doing in terms of, you know, direct service hours for somebody, because you're learning about different industries that a lot of the folks that you support are looking for. So like Casey was telling me that you guys are looking for a lot of administrative and office jobs. So think of all the people that you know that work in office and administrative, and start calling them up and say, you know, how do you think would be my good angle to get in there? And, you know, after answering all the questions. So keep calm and do your homework. One last thing is follow up. Okay. So how should you end your conversation? Thanks so much for sharing all this info with me. I know that after I get off this chat, I'm going to think of a lot more questions. So could we set another time to meet in the next few weeks? And then you can meet with them again so that you're practicing also your follow-up with them. And then you'll go back to your questions and I know you'll study them. And then on top of that, you'll have more questions. No matter what, you'll have more questions. The number 1 reasons why folks don't get the next appointment is because they don't make it at the time of the appointment that they're at. So if people will say, oh my gosh, Val, I got all these tours last week. And I'll say, well, that's great. And then they'll say, yeah. And then I went back to my office and I emailed them and I never heard from them again. So set the time then. Say, you know, if you're doing an informational interview that's your sit down when we all get to go back to what we're doing, then say, hey, I got a lot of really great information here. Is it possible that I could set up a tour in the next couple of weeks so I could come back and like see all the ins and outs of what you're talking about? So do that. Always put your leads in the CRM. All of these leads that you're going to do on these informational interviews need to go into the CRM, because you'll ask questions like, well, who is the manager there? Who does make the hiring decision? And then, of course, I'd like all the managers to follow up on this with everybody that is on this call today, because I think it's really important that, you know, a lot of times people will do like trainings, so they'll learn things and they'll go, oh, these are great ideas. And then their kids crying and then they never do anything about it. So I really want the managers to follow up on this and to say, hey, send me the list of the top 5 people that you were going to contact to do your informational interview with. Or, hey, what kinds of list of questions do you have that you're going to ask? Or then follow up and say, hey, how did that go with those folks? Tell me all about it. What did you learn? Okay.
So, Val, I'm going to stop there for just a second. If people would like to share some questions they come up with, maybe you could put them in the chat now, some questions that you would ask in informational interviews. And so we can look at that. And also, if you have a question or a comment for Val, if you could go ahead and put that in the chat right now, and then we'll kind of take a look at it. And I'm sorry, I'll let you keep going, and we can take some questions too. We have a little bit of time.
Yeah, no, let's take questions, because I kind of just flowed through that and skipped some things. You guys are bright. So does anybody have any questions or any comments on it? What stuck out at you? Like, what did you think was a great idea that you're going to do? Or does it make you nervous to talk with your social capital?
So I think it was Nikki, Trillium said, I totally bought a car there in 2014 at your car lot. She has to hop on a call, but she can't wait to watch this later and keep building my social capital up. Thanks, Val. And then
Right.
Dee said, what was it that drew you to this job? Great question. And how do you use your strengths in your position? Ooh, good one, Dee.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. Let's get a few more questions, and if you can show your face, I'm sure that Val would appreciate that too. She just shared with us for a long time.
Well, also, I was just going to mention too about LinkedIn is that I think it's a really great opportunity right now to build up your LinkedIn page and get on LinkedIn and build your social capital that way. Link in with employment consultants that are from different industries, or different agencies. For me, if I was thinking about somebody I wanted to get a job for, I didn't have a LinkedIn page, I would spend direct service hours on creating a LinkedIn page on behalf of that particular job seeker, and then linking into the industry of that they want to get a job in. I mean, for example. So you could utilize this as good time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Billable hours, folks, billable hours.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know sometimes I'm kind of nervous to just like make that initial connection, you know, and there's a man that I've been talking to at the Chamber of Commerce in Maple Valley, and he's like, oh yeah, call me up. You know, we went to elementary school together. And I've emailed and called and left messages a few times, but I know he's not that busy right now because I have seen him again on the Chamber things. And so I just need to put it out there again. Just got to do it again and just send out an invite. And but having
Yep, I think if you're approaching it in the fact that you're the expert in what you do, and I really want to pick your brain and learn more about it, people are more likely to do it. Don't be going out there and telling people, we help folks with disabilities get jobs and we're trying to get a job at your company. That's not what this is, because you don't really know if it's a good place for somebody to work or not. You're just picking somebody's brain. Like, for example, when I was doing this training tomorrow, which is it's like successful habits of highly effective employment consultants. The first person I thought of was Casey. And I'm like, okay, she's developed 100 jobs. I'm going to call her and ask her to be a guest on there. So you're my part of my social capital. I did that to you.
And me to you. Dina said, what is one piece of advice you always take with you no matter what that someone told you that applies now? Oh, that's interesting. That's a great question. Dee says she wants to go with me to meet Brad. I know, we've been trying to set it up, haven't we? And I was going to ask you about that, Val. Like, at this time, do you think it makes people feel better to even say, hey, I've been talking to you. Remember, I have a colleague who would is really interested too. Can she join our chat?
Absolutely. Totally. Mm-hmm. You guys just make sure that you guys get together and, you know, talk about what questions you're going to ask, or like if one person's going to do it, the other person can just come in, because yeah, I mean, that's a really good idea, Casey. You guys are still mentoring people, right? So have your mentee come in to the conversation as well, for sure. So I'm trying to think of, to everyone, what is one piece of advice you always take with you no matter what that someone told you that applies now? Who has an answer for that? Anybody? My piece of advice is that always be in action. That's my new saying, is that somebody told me that. It's like, you need to be in action during innovative times. If you're not, you're going to miss the boat. This is the time to be in action. This is the time to develop skills that you never thought you were going to have.
Dina, was that a question for us, or is that a question you would ask at an informational interview?
For you guys.
Val, somebody else said they would ask, how is the team interaction with you at the informational interview? Saeed said that, and he said, be curious and leave judgment at the door.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I like that one, and sometimes I've kind of totally messed that up, where I've gone in and I've been like, so I have somebody working for a veterinary clinic, and this is the task list of exactly what they do, and then they look at it and they're like, yeah, we don't need that, sorry, bye. So
I'm gonna marry you on their first date.
well, I like the way you kind of said you asked them about it instead. Like, I have a task list of what somebody else does. Are these the type of things you might do here?
Yep. Always be curious, as Russ says, ABC, always be curious. Okay, anybody else have any other questions?
I'd like to hear from one or two of the senior employment consultants.
Hey, Case. It's not necessarily a question, but some advice when I am kind of doing my pre-call planning and kind of building my ammunition or my question list of how I can approach the business. So on Facebook, I will see what they're doing. So for example, one of the businesses that I'm working with, they were never on like a food delivery app like the DoorDash or the Grubhub. And so one of my approaches like, hey, love that you're still delivering. I see that you just recently added your business to Grubhub and DoorDash. How's that working for you? So kind of doing the snooping of what they're currently doing, and then that could be your in. So that's my tip.
That's great. Thanks, Michelle.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Well,
Daniel says, great info, lots to bring back to my team. Supporting the businesses on Facebook via posts is a huge takeaway for me. So that's great. Hi, Russ.
hello. Hey, Dan, you can bill some time to my client if you want. Just kidding. Val already took my quote, always be curious, but one of the things I ask, either in an informational interview or just talking with somebody who's a hiring manager is, what are the top 3 skills or personal attributes that you're looking for in, and then I pick the position, whether it's entry level or something, but what are the 3 most important things for a person in this job that you're looking for? Because that kind of gets it straight to what exactly they're looking for, because there could be all sorts of things that is listed as requirements or they're looking for, but that manager is going to say, yeah, we want quality, but really the focus is on customer service here. So we want customer service number 1 and then quality number 2. So that kind of helps you hone in on your clients or passing that on to other ECs.
I see another question, which is for folks who do coaching exclusively, what suggestions would you have for them to grow their JD lens? Somebody else want to jump in for that? I would say you're in front of the employer all the time, right? So you always want to try to go for career advancement. So I would say if you're in front of those folks all the time, you need to be looking for things, different tasks that they could be doing to be able to get more hours, for example, and all of the things that anybody did to get somebody a job apply for career advancement. So just you need to be curious and looking around at all aspects of the job.
Yeah, and I would also say, you've probably heard me say this again and again, you have somebody working in Renton in a strip mall, you need to go to 5 places nearby, right? Because you have a great connection already, right? You're there all the time. They've probably seen you walking in and out. They've seen, especially if someone's on Access. So you have the great opportunity to go in and say, hey, I support Thomas right next door. He's been there 2.5 years. Let me tell you what he does. So you have a great interaction. And if you're coaching, please help the other ECs who've got 10 people in JD, right? We, and we collaborate really well. So check in with them. Ask them if they want to go to the places nearby with you.
Point of checking in with managers and posting things. I happened to call yesterday the store manager at a Safeway and checked in on how my client was doing. And then I mentioned to her that his 1-year anniversary is coming up, and I normally take the photo and post it, but I won't be there. So she agreed to take the photo, and I will share my screen. And this is Trevor at Safeway, always a ham. And so we're going to be posting that on our Facebook. But it was a great way to connect with that manager, and she's a busy store manager, but she said, yeah, I'll take the photo and text it to you. So it was a good check-in. And stop sharing now. There we go.
Thank you, Russ. That was great.
I'm gonna have to bug out here. So thanks for putting up with me for a little while.
Yeah, and if you have more questions, if we have more questions for Val, go ahead and send them to me or put them on the chat here, and we'll go back and look at them. And we can ask her some more questions, and then of course we can follow up next at our next JD and see who's had at our next JD meeting in a month and hear about informational interviews that people have done. So that'd be a good challenge for everybody to do at least 1 or 2, if not more, right?
Yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome. And then also just to remember is that I don't know if you're tuning in to any of the WISE webinars or whatever, but I'm doing one tomorrow on habits of highly effective employment consultants. And I have 3 guest speakers, And also, all of these are being recorded. So the last session that I did, which I did for you in 40 minutes, is a 2-hour session that you can actually go onto the WISE website, and all of the trainings are going to be on demand. So if you see the list of trainings for a week, for example, and you can't make all of them, you can do it anytime on demand. I think they're taking like a week to be able to put in, but they're going to have a whole catalog of on-demand stuff if you missed the live versions as well. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Yes, happy job developing. So now the next time that somebody asks, what have you been doing for job development? You guys are all going to have it's going to be flooded in the chat room.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Thanks for coming and drive safely.
So we have just a few more minutes, and Jen was gonna